Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with Elite Dangerous. And today I'm bringing you some more bounty hunting footage, except this time in the Viper MKIII, or as I like to call it, the Freedom Viper. Now I'm sure some of you are wondering why I've decided to call it the Freedom Viper. Well, it has a little to do with the fact that I purchased an American flag skin and flew around with it during the majority of a live stream. However, they did recently have some skins on sale, so I went ahead and bought a few extras for the Viper, as I do really enjoy this ship. Probably something I'll never sell. Wonderful in combat, and it looks pretty cool.
3, 2, 1, engage.
Ah, the sounds of Elite Dangerous. I don't think I'll ever tire of them, especially the sounds of this Viper. Now, I don't know about the other ships in the game, but this one sounds absolutely mean. You're revving that engine, and you just sound like an angry animal ready to tear something apart. It is just absolutely glorious. So for today's bounty hunting mission, I decided to hit up a resource extraction point that I had been to before, featuring a wide variety of criminal scum. Now, my plan is actually quite simple. Once I hit the resource extraction point, we'll find security forces. More often than not, the security forces will be engaging wanted criminals. This makes it real easy for me to get in there and shoot at ships that could perhaps be much larger and more of a threat to my own. Ships that I shouldn't be engaging by myself, but with a group of security, I shouldn't have too much of a problem, and I'll net a nice profit. Now, this was filmed during a solo session, so there's no risk of running into hostile players. However, I do look forward to playing online a lot more, as I am getting a bit more comfortable with the controls of my ship and gameplay in general. But even with that said, I'm just not sure how easy it is to even run into another player, just because the game is so massive in scale. Seeing somebody at a space station is one thing, but how often do you get interdicted randomly in space by an actual player and not AI? On top of that, I feel like most people play this in solo or private sessions anyway. There's just not much reward for playing online. I don't think that there's a credit or reputation increase if you go online, so I don't know why many people would even want to, if there's even the slightest percentage chance that they'll get killed by another player. I do believe there is some sort of specific combat zone that you can go into where you might see another player. I just don't know a whole heck of a lot about that. I'm thinking that if anything will change, it'll probably happen during the Powerplay update, where people will be picking factions and perhaps waging war against rival players. Okay, so it is now time to scan for targets. He is fine, we'll leave him alone, but what you usually want to do here, at least what I've found, is that you just got to scan and look for tracer fire or laser fire in the distance. It's usually security forces firing upon a wanted criminal. Now, that's a Clipper who is wanted, but we don't want to take him on because nobody's shooting at him. However, this Anaconda, that's a different story. Very, very big ship, and he's being engaged by multiple security forces. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is normally a ship I wouldn't want to take on in a Viper, especially if it's a experienced player. It's just a lot larger, has more armor, better shields, more firepower. It can take me out quite easily, I believe. But in this case, we outnumber him, so I feel that it's a safe bet. The downside, though, was the fact that I forgot to put more power into my weapons, and so you can see that I'm running out of juice because everything was set to engine. So I go ahead and throw some more power to weapons, but I don't really have anything in system, so my shields are kind of at a bare minimum here. So just a lot of rookie mistakes in the first engagement. You have to remember that you spend a lot of time traveling in this game, so usually in a peaceful situation, once you finally get into combat, it's just time to wake up, and for me, still being new to the game, I have a lot to get used to. I have been considering switching to a quad multi-cannon setup lately, although I'm just not sure how effective it is versus having lasers and multi-cannons. Obviously, lasers are better at tearing through shields, but would 4 multi-cannons be just as effective? I suppose the downside to that would be the fact that you have to pay for more ammunition, but then does that really matter considering the amount of money that you can get from a single kill out in a resource extraction point? I guess I'll simply have to bite the bullet and find out for myself. The other thing that I need to figure out is subsystem targeting. I really haven't done a whole lot of that. Actually, I don't think I've done any of it, but I know that you have to access it through one of your control panels. I think the right one. I just don't know where it's at or how easy it is to access. If anything, I think it'd be best to assign a hotkey to certain subsystems on enemy ships, because I found that what's happening is a lot of times you'll get a ship that tries to break free of the asteroid belt and simply bail on the fight. This Anaconda has definitely seen better days. He's not going anywhere anytime soon either, and I was starting to take some damage myself, so I decided to bail, use the Viper's speed and maneuverability to get out of harm's way, while the security forces mop up for 118,000 plus credits on that one. Well worth the minor hull damage. Alright, next up, the Imperial Clipper, which is an interesting looking ship, but I think I start things out with a kill warrant scan, which I believe increases the amount of money I can potentially get out of them. And it's one of those things where I think I need to bind my warrant scanner to my weapons as well, so I'm doing both at the same time, shooting and scanning. That way I'm not wasting any valuable time in combat. But in this case, I think I was holding fire because nobody was shooting at him and I wasn't sure what was going on. So I wanted to make sure that I had backup. The Clipper is a ship that I'm not too familiar with, and I remember a while ago somebody gave me a list of ships that I shouldn't fight by myself, and I just wasn't sure if that was one of them. But once the security started firing on him again, I just let him have it. But he was losing armor real quick once his shields ran out, so it wasn't much of a threat with everybody around here. But 67,000 credits there, not bad, again, for very little work. Now, as we're flying through here, I thought I'd go ahead and talk a little bit more about the Powerplay update that we mentioned earlier in the video, and this is a massive update, and I think might be the cure to the problems that most Elite Dangerous players have been facing. And the problem that I've seen with Elite Dangerous, and you might differ, but this is just my opinion, but the problem with Elite is that after a while, everything just gets stale. There's only so much bounty hunting you can do. There's only so much space trucking that you can do, which is why I think the Powerplay update might go a long ways to changing how people play Elite Dangerous. So let's get into it. What is it? Well, you've got three factions in this game currently. You've got Imperials, Federation, and Alliance. Now, I don't know a lot about them, and I still need to do some research before I even decide upon picking one, or maybe I'll just stay neutral. I don't know. But yes, you can, of course, stay neutral. There might not be as much benefit to doing so, however. So, with the three factions, if you pick one, you will be fighting for their cause, and there will be a galactic map that will show who controls the most territory. And the more missions you do for your faction, the more you'll help with those causes. On top of that, now I think here's the thing that'll probably bring a few more people online, is if you're in friendly space, let's say we're a member of the Federation, and an Imperial comes into Federation space, we see his ship or her ship, and we could target that person and obliterate them, or try to if we want, and we won't get a bounty on our ship because they came into our space and we're at war with that faction. So that makes things a little bit more interesting. As it is now, it seems like most of the time if you try to attack another player or AI, you're going to get a bounty on you and you're going to be open to fire from security forces. So already you can see that without getting further into the Powerplay update, things are already interesting. You know, there's more reason to play online to make a difference for a specific faction. I think this is really what the game needs, even more so than just increasing wealth on online servers. I think this is something that players are looking for. I think this is something that will bring new players into the fold. I mean, if you can imagine maybe a game like PlanetSide, where you're fighting for control of territory, but mix it with Elite Dangerous, where it's all in outer space and you're using ships in first person to fight. But on top of that, you already have this great foundation where you've got people doing trade and bounty hunting or just exploration. So there's a lot to do now with the Powerplay update on top of the base game, and it's a free content expansion, so that's not a bad deal, I think. In fact, I've told some of my own friends, I said, look, don't get the game now if you're not sure, because there's not a whole lot to do. You'll get bored, okay? There's only so much you can do in regards to grinding your new ships or parts and things like that, bounty hunting, trucking. Wait till this Powerplay update comes out, check out some reviews, wait for my opinion on it, and then come in. Because I think that's going to change everything, and I think that's going to be the real reason to show up to this game. On top of the fact that by now the game is far more polished than it ever was. So I think this is going to be good for Elite. Otherwise, there's just not a lot to do. So I think it really, really needs this update. And I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out myself. Hopefully I can get together with some people on live stream and have some fun with it as well. So how about a little bit more discussion in the comment section? What faction will you side with and why? Will you fight for the Imperials, perhaps the Federation? What about the Alliance? Or will you just choose to remain neutral? Is there more profit in trade when remaining neutral between all three and perhaps just hauling cargo across space without having a target on your back? Let me know what you're planning to join and why, and perhaps even tell me why you think the other factions deserve to eat space dust. Final target of the day looks like a Federal dropship, and it makes me wonder what other faction-specific ships we'll see in the future, especially considering the Powerplay update. Will we see a wide variety of ships that perhaps might sway one's decision to join? I believe as it is now, some of these ships already require a certain amount of reputation before you can purchase them, such as this Federal dropship and even the Imperial Clipper that we saw earlier. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Powerplay update and how much more of a role factions will have when picking a ship, for example. I know in EVE Online, a lot of people chose a faction simply based on the look or aesthetic of a faction. So it'll be interesting to see if that somehow plays a role in Elite Dangerous. Now this son of a gun simply refuses to die, and I'm guessing that that ship is just so big, it's got a lot of armor. I think it would have been better to have the quad multi-cannon set up at this point, simply because his shields have been down for a while and we've had backup. I think for this type of bounty hunting, if you are going to assist security forces, then yes, the quad multi-cannons are going to be a better bet because you have other ships fighting the target as well. So they're going to take down the shields, you're helping out a little bit, but when it does get to the hull, you're going to be doing the most damage. At this point though, I'm starting to get a little worried because we're getting further away from the planet and the asteroids that make up the ring, and so I'm thinking that he might try to jump. And as I said earlier, I hadn't figured out how to target subsystems, so all I can do is shoot every bit of his ship that I can. I would really hate after all of this time he just manages to somehow jump away. We are still mass locked according to my UI though, so I'm not too worried. But there were a few times where I thought that maybe he was making a break for it, and this was definitely one of those times. 4%, we've almost got him. Those shields came up a little bit more there, so I had to break through those, and he should almost be done, but you can see that he's just not taking as much fire that we're out of the asteroids, but there he goes. Only 88k, I guess it's still a decent amount, but I think considering the amount of time and ammo that we've wasted on him, I was hoping for a bit more, considering that that first Anaconda that we took out was 118, although I guess that's a more valuable ship, and it really just also probably comes down to their bounties and just how much they're worth or what type of threat they are. But anyways, it is time to go home, rearm, refit, and of course turn in our bounties. Now, as you can see, that was a really easy way to make credits, and you do that for one night, a couple hours even, and you've got a new ship, especially if you're just starting out. Now, it might take you a little longer if you're in a brand new ship, you're playing for the first time, but it's doable. All you have to do is back up the security forces and try not to hit them, obviously, or else they'll try to attack you. If you do hit security, Try to get out of the asteroids, jump away, jump anywhere, just jump, because they're all going to be on you, and it won't take long to take out a fresh ship. So be very careful of that. Let's just say that it's happened a couple of times. Good old Yapping Dock, and this is a pretty good place to hang out. It's really close to a lot of resource extraction points, plus it's neutral. You can come here if you got a bounty on your head. If you accidentally did hit one of the security forces and you want to pay off that bounty, you can come to the dock and you won't be fired upon, I believe. I think space stations are the only places that will fire upon you, or those security patrols. I think this one's clear, and so that's always good to know. And plus, this is just a good location if you are looking at farming bounties at resource extraction points. It doesn't always have all the things you might want. I don't think you can buy any types of ships here. There might be some parts that it's missing if you want to upgrade. But again, a good hub for resource extraction bounty hunting. I am trying to get a little better with my landings. I noticed that when I upgraded to the Viper, it became increasingly difficult to land just because the ship has far more power than the Sidewinder. But what I usually try to do, which I'm not sure that I do here, is put full system power. That way my shields can be reinforced just in case of an accident. And then, of course, landing gear down seems to make you go slower as well. So I've got that all set up. And then apparently people tell me you just kind of have to dive bomb the deck like we're about to do here. And that's it. And I think that was one of the best landings I ever had. I highly doubt that I'll be able to repeat that. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I really hope that you've enjoyed today's look at Elite Dangerous. Stay tuned for more, and I will definitely see you on the next one.